Wife had an affair with my stepfather to steal the $1 million mansion, but little did she know it was mine. Married 7 years to Kia, 38F. I am 38M. With our share of ups and downs, our relationship has been really normal. The downs largely resulted from my wife's belief I was overly close to my mother. She did call me a mama's boy. Since my mother passed away 2 years ago, I am not going to defend it now as she is no longer living. I'm happy I could love her the way she deserved. She had raised me alone and, even beyond her means, given me the finest of everything. Until she met Andrew 10 years ago, my mother was a single parent to me. Andrew married my mother in early 50s, having recently gone through divorce. I'm not sure what Andrew's mother saw that caused her to wed him after 2 decades of single life. Andrew vanished from me when mom was still around. Twice a week I used to see her, but my interactions with Andrew limited themselves to polite salutations and a smile. Though I never showed mom, I simply couldn't accept him as a father figure and don't know why. She finding a friend in her last days of life made me glad. Andrew vanished from my life and there was no doubt about his existence. Though he was still living at my mom's house, I never even visited him following her funeral. When I saw him seated with my wife, his arm encircling hers, I started to worry about him. That was not an elderly or friendly hug. Their body language bothered me. Or more accurately, their chemistry. Our familial dynamics made it strange as well. Like I indicated, Chia was not near my stepdad, and I was never close to him either. For me then, seeing such ease between them was somewhat awkward. I was driving while they were seated in a roadside cafe. Early that day, I had left the office to meet an old buddy. Usually I avoid visiting the region where I saw them. It is far from both my house and even my office. I went to see a friend, but I was mostly preoccupied. My friend persisted in asking whether something was bothering me, but I simply said it was related to approaching work. How could I share with him what I observed on my way? When I got home, I addressed Chia straightforwardly, telling her I saw her with Andrew without thinking. She became pale and lost speech. "Yeah, I met him for lunch," she remarked afterwards. She claimed she bumped into him when I asked her why all of a sudden, and then he offered to have lunch with her. She sensed from my staring at her that I had seen something I shouldn't have. She responded, "Your stepdad was quite offended over losing your mother." I set out to comfort him. Lonesome and without someone to chat to, the poor elderly man held my hands hence he could communicate his loss. You see, I left out telling her. I watched him clutching her hands. He was putting his arms around her, and the way they were speaking didn't seem like he was depressed or at a loss for my mother. Though they were not laughing, their body language was flirty. Though I said nothing, I bought her excuse. Before any more confrontation, I chose to look into the problem personally. Kia works weekends and is off during weekdays since she is a nail artist in a beauty salon. Not a matter of concern between us until lately. We used to argue over Kia not allowing time for our relationship when she used to be overly consumed with her profession. She insisted that following the death of her mother, I was acting needy. She added that I used to visit my mom 2 times a week earlier, hence Chia's absence didn't really disturb me. But she was mistaken. On weekends, I used to see my mother. Although Chia had work on her off days, I always made sure I got back home promptly to spend time with her. She used to fight about me being a mama's boy, but now she was claiming I was hungry. I became even more enraged seeing her with my stepdad while all this was happening. A few weeks later, Thanksgiving arrived. Yes, I am referring to last Thanksgiving that just passed. And she demanded that we extend an invitation to Andrew. Her straight recommendation caught me off guard. Andrew was living alone and had no one, she stated, hence as extended family, we should welcome him. She answered, yeah, because they had each other to celebrate with. And now that poor old man is alone. When I told her she never invited them when my mom was alive. In the end I gave in. Really, I wanted to observe their behavior toward me. Though I now knew the truth, I wouldn't say they behaved normal. Rather, they did nothing odd. I would not have noticed anything if I did not know the truth. For much of it I was quiet. I never liked him. Thus my suspicions made me even more resentful of his presence. I felt he also realized I didn't enjoy it. It was a strange supper overall. Sia tried to break the quiet with some pointless subjects, only to elicit false grins from both of us eating silently. I decided to plot since it was getting hard for me to live with a heavy heart. Though it was locked, I considered looking at her phone but decided against it. I did not to alert her and ask her for the password. I then developed still another strategy. I informed Chia I would be working out of town for many days. I left early on the intended day and headed to my office as normal. But before that I had fitted a GPS device in Chia's car and was monitoring it from a distance. She drove Andrew to his house just before lunchtime. I wanted to catch her red-handed, but I worried I would appear like an idiot if I showed up and they were just sitting and talking. I approached my pal Keith for assistance. I urged him to see Andrew and shared my misgivings. It was a safe strategy. I advised him to document any unusual findings. The house lock was password encrypted, hence I was expecting Andrew hadn't updated the PIN. I advised Keith to tell Andrew the front door was open and he was simply checking on him as he was concerned Andrew could accuse him of sneaking in. There was a little tunnel instead of the main door leading straight into the living room. Nobody would find him unlocking the door suspicious. He agreed following a persuasive argument. He entered but searched the corridor for them nowhere. Then he peeped in the bedroom while running his phone camera on. He had kept the phone in his shirt pocket with the camera sticking out to avoid suspicion. The two were embracing each other without clothes, he noted. Before one of them knew what had happened, he swiftly started to cry, "Sorry," and left the house. Following him outdoors, Andrew asked what he was doing there. Keith said he was only checking on him, but it's good, he would come later. Before any conflict with Andrew or Kia, he sat inside his car and headed off. But my guy is really dumb. He had the front camera open the entire time, hence nothing was captured save Andrew and Shia screaming at Keith's unexpected presence. Still, I received the required confirming evidence. Before leaving the house that day, I had already packed 2 sets of clothes and my toiletries. Therefore I headed to Keith's place. He urged me to stay with him until all this was settled since his wife was out of town at her parents' place. She is aware Keith would have shown me the truth. She messaged me wondering when I would get home. I responded not. I did ghost her, yes. Thinking I'm out of town for work, she has been bombashing my phone with countless texts and calls. 4 days ago this took place. Since I never want to see her face ever again, I have virtually contacted a lawyer. I will get her kicked from my residence and serve her divorce paperwork. Update 1. The attorney sent the divorce paperwork 10 days later. CIA wanted a talk and was simply not ready to sign them. If at all possible, my attorney advised we pursue an out-of-court settlement since it would drastically cut time and expenses. See, I work a consistent regular job as a salesperson. I only have so much leave to go to court hearings and a limited budget for lawyers. I agreed to meet in the presence of the lawyer. CIA persisted in a private talk with me though, even as I headed for the appointment. I objected, but thus long as I didn't say or promise anything she demanded, my attorney urged me to go for it. He set rigorous rules: no hugging, no touching, and no confessing. Her presence made me sick. I shoved her away as she tried to hug me. She claimed everything was a misinterpretation. Reading so many cheating stories on Reddit helped me to know exactly what all cheaters say. I answered, yeah, certainly. You were really attempting to assist an elderly poor man from his loneliness, right? She said it was merely snuggling and nothing else, but she acknowledged whatever Keith saw was accurate, and she wasn't trying to dispute anything. Of course, hugging naked is quite natural. But what she said next really made sense. She claimed she acted to protect our future. Really? How exactly? She said, your mother bequeathed all her riches to Andrew. Should he wed someone else, that woman would be entitled to it. The property belonging to your family would go to someone else. You slept with my stepdad, I continued. For this reason. You may become my stepmother and inherit the fortune of my mother. Does this family dynamic show any complexity? Herbs made me lightheaded, hence I hurried out of the conference hall. My attorney asked for specifics of the conversation when I returned. I gave him all I could. Though he cracked up momentarily, he was actually curious about the inheritance my mother left. Mom had left behind a house her uncle had left behind. Way beyond my means, it was a large mansion. Fascinatingly, Chia always kept her eye on that mansion. She even insisted on us moving into the mansion following our marriage. Though Chia wanted her mother to move out to my apartment while we were occupying her mansion, I was glad she wanted to live with her. I denied it. She lived here. Why should she leave? You're the only son of your mother, thus that house would come to you, Chia stated. Why not immediately move in there? This caused many of our arguments. I lied to her one day, telling her mom had willed that house to Andrew. And you see the cost I paid for my lie. Chia pursued my stepdad in order to own the house. Chia also lacked knowledge of one other bit of information. I neglected to name myself as the owner of the house when mom passed away. Andrew wanted to live there till he felt so otherwise. Transferring it to my name would be like he were residing on my land, and I'm sure he wouldn't like that. The name transfer is costly as well, so I let it be as I was short on money at the time. I'm also happy I didn't transfer it since Sia would have been entitled to half of the house following our divorce. Alternatively, if such had been the case, she might not have slept with Andrew. Not known. Still, in any context a cheater is always a cheater. Indeed, Sia was unaware that my mother had willed the house to me. Sia urged me to rethink the divorce. She claimed she could entice Andrew to offer her the house, and should I not divorce her, the mansion would be ours. Laughing at her suggestion, I answered, no, thank you for the offer. Luck with your mansion. Smoking, she continued. You're losing a lot with this divorce. Grinning, I answered, I don't give a if *ck. I don't know whether she was truly that stupid or was trying to spare herself from the humiliation. Nevertheless, it makes no difference. Except for the savings in our joint account, which we divided, she understood I had no significant fortune. After the divorce was official, I felt rather relieved. Chia would never have split with me at any point if she had come clean about the mansion's ownership. And I cannot pass on that wretch my mom's inheritance. Sia buried her own grave by revealing her motivations for dating Andrew, and I was going to use that against her to send Andrew away from her life. During our divorce, I watched Andrew picking her up from court, helping her with all legal issues. I was just waiting for the divorce to pass in order to witness her reaction and break her bubble. Having done it, I'm going to destroy Kia next. Update 2. I sent Andrew the specifics of Kia's confession once my divorce was official. You know that your mom will give you the mansion, right? He answered. Yes, I have her will, I responded. But Chia doesn't know. She's going to ask you to give her the mansion. Revealing the truth was not doing him any favors. All I wanted was to bust Kia's bubble. The underprivileged girl had been fantasizing of owning my mother's property. Andrew informed me Kaya had lately been subtly questioning him about his will and who would get his legacy, but he never understood her intentions since he lacked any wealth to mention. I stopped the conversation at that since I wanted no bro code with Andrew. I finally got a call from Shia. Usually I would not have responded, but this time I did since I understood what it was about. From the other line, she was screaming, "Why did you not tell me your mother willed the house to you? King destroyed me instead. I was practically guarding your property by licking the ass of this old man." Her insults were coming from a place of hurt, hence I was merely laughing at them. I said, "Thanks so much. Good luck with your gold digging approach." I hung up the call and blocked her then. She contacted me once more from an unidentified number a few days later, perhaps from the phone of a friend or coworker. Andrew had split from her, she told me. He discovered she was with him only for inheritance somehow. And he dumped her since the truth surfaced. He regarded her as avaricious. Andrew turned against her even though she maintained she was helping him deal with loneliness. Her truth had already come out, so I wonder why she was still trying to pass being a devout woman. I answered cynically, "Yes, you have slept with everyone selflessly only for the sake of others. You hardly have any underlying intentions at all." She said she was dating Andrew for my benefit, to get the mansion for me. Now she said she was merely trying to support Andrew through grief and loneliness. Indeed, she possessed a really clean soul. She persisted there as well. She made every effort to reach and attack me. Sometimes begging, other times gaslighting me to get back together. She showed up to my residence, my workplace, and even some frequent public venues I visited. Unbelievably, she even tried to corner me for a talk when she visited my gym. Though I disregarded her as though she were a stranger to me, it was a hell of a nightmare. Technically, she was a stranger since our divorce was done. Update 3. Though my history returned as soon as I moved the mansion's ownership to my name, I felt this story was finished. God knows what her house obsession was about. Who wouldn't want $1 million residence to their name, really? I'm not sure though, how long it would take her to come to terms with reality. 6 months into my divorce, I made the decision to change the name of the mansion. I hadn't done it before, as I indicated earlier, as I lacked the savings for the ownership change. I could save for the transfer in 4 to 5 months now that I was separated and my spending had dropped significantly. I told Andrew about it before I applied for the transfer. Once I learned about his affair with Kia, he was no longer residing in the house. I asked him not to leave, but he answered that he would remove his last items from the house and he did. He assigned me house administrative duties including locking system maintenance. The documentation did not arrive for a few months. I had the house painted in the meantime. I had those cleaned as the pool and the grass hadn't been maintained for a long time. I had no touch with Chia, and based on our most recent talk, Andrew had also broken off with her. Her showing up to the estate during one of the cleaning days confused me then. When I missed there, the housekeeping manager called to let me know a woman had descended and was prowling about the premises. She told them she was my wife when they tried to stop her from entering, so they left. Yes, correct. They thought she was a trespasser based on her sensations of the walls and interiors. She was in fact. I said I had no wife and requested them to kick her out. They followed orders and then confirmed by phone that she had left the house. Not a prize for guessing if she showed up at my house. Yes, she did. Saying I had abandoned her when she did nothing wrong and that her motives were pure, she was screaming and wailing. I advised her to, instead of showing up at my place, get therapy and investigate a mental facility. I refused her demand for me to let her inside to chat. I shut the door squarely in her path. Update 4. On my mansion land, I have also placed a restraining order against Shia. She had not been violent, hence her odds of sneaking into that location or damaging it were limited, but yet I didn't trust her. I had to act in order to protect the rights of the new house occupants. I wished Shia not to cause needless disturbance for them. Until now, it has been seamless. I hope I will have to update this thread further. Shia's chapter should finish so I may continue with my life. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.